Hey, welcome back for some more Kolchak the Night Stalker. Today we've got a fun one as Kolchak has to deal with the undead. Well, I guess technically he already has, but no, not a vampire this time. This time he's facing down a zombie. And not just any old zombie, but a Haitian voodoo zombie. The episode begins with some Italian mobsters sorting coins or something inside of a semi-truck. Kolchak gives us the lowdown on who these men are, but does it really matter? I mean, they're all about to be killed by something that really wants inside.
Willie Pike, one-time heavyweight contender, now just one heavy pile of lifeless junk.
Alright, well, one of them was about to be killed by something that really wanted inside, but I'd like to point out that we have another undead killer that can seemingly shrug off gunfire. Kolchak gets to start writing his story, but is rudely interrupted by Monique, a woman who is basically a caricature of anyone that grew up in New Jersey.
What?
No food or beverages in this office.
Vincenzo comes over to Kolchak and he's acting way nicer than he usually is, which must mean he wants something. It's weird not having these two at each other's throat from the moment the episode begins. Well, it turns out Vincenzo has an exclusive story for Kolchak. A police raid involving the Syndicate. Wait a minute, the Syndicate? Now where have I heard that name before? The only catch to this exclusive story is that Kolchak has to lug around Monique, who just so happens to be the niece of Vincenzo's boss. So Kolchak doesn't really have much of a choice now, does he?
Absolutely, infinitely, definitely no!
I don't care what anybody else thinks.
Anyways, police are in a standoff with a couple of the Syndicate members, James and Perry Russo. Wait, the Russo brothers? Is this what they do between filming terrible Marvel movies? Kolchak and Monique pull up just in time for the gunfire to start flying, but she is really dumb. It's okay though, Kolchak knows just how to handle her.
Yeah, you get inside there, you get some pictures.
Okay.
Police Captain Winwood starts giving Kolchak crap for bringing her along, but again, he didn't have any choice. The Russo brothers are terrible shots. I don't think they hit the police cars even once. Anyways, the shooting stops, so the captain just walks right out in the open, which is really smart. He has no idea if the men are dead, but whatever, I guess. The captain doesn't allow any of the reporters to get pictures of the bodies, so Kolchak does the next best thing. He speaks to Gordon Spangler, aka Gordy the Ghoul, the morgue attendant. You know, Kolchak seems to have a contact just about everywhere he goes. This Gordy also runs a lottery based on the birth years of the dead bodies that come in, which is highly offensive. I'm putting all my money on this gentleman right here.
We had him in here last week.
Wait a minute, what do you mean you had him in here last week? Dead?
Bodies don't usually end up in the morgue twice. It only gets weirder because this dead man also seemed to bleed chicken blood, which makes no sense. Kolchak sits in on the police briefing, but what I find fascinating is this guy's camera. First we have a morgue attendant named Spangler, which is pretty damn close to Egon Spengler, and now we've got a guy with a camera that looks like a proton pack? This can't be coincidence.
I didn't hear one word mentioned in your report of a third body found in the Russo brothers' barn. A black man. That's right, sister.
Yeah, the guy with the chicken blood was also found with the Russo brothers, which is very strange. Except his spine wasn't snapped, he was shot, but not by anything the police were using, so just what the hell is going on? This unknown black victim is being buried, but he was already buried there just last week. How could the same man be buried more than one time? The man is named Francois Edmonds, and it looks like he was taken out by the Syndicate. Probably got too close to exposing their plans for colonization. I mean, it was probably money or drugs or something. You know how these mobsters are.
Now, maybe they dug him up, took him to the barn for some exploratory surgery.
After the autopsy? That doesn't make any sense, Gordy.
Gordy seems to think the Syndicate may have done some surgery on the dead man because he may have swallowed a receipt and that's why he was dead in the barn with the Russo brothers? Gordy then mentions something about the Black Numbers operators, which is an opposing group to the Syndicate, so Kolchak decides to check them out, which I think is probably a really bad idea. Well, this place looks, interesting. Be careful what you think around this guy, Kolchak. He's got what we like to call the Shining.
Your friend is dead.
Yeah,
Relax, Kolchak, it's just a chicken. It's not like it's a shambling corpse that's coming to break your spine because that would be ridiculous. Just then Huggy Bear walks in and Kolchak, I don't think this is no place for no jive-ass turkeys. Sweet Stick, as this fine gentleman is called, wants to know why Kolchak is going around asking about Francois Edmonds, a clearly dead man who is definitely not walking around and definitely not breaking the spines of their rivals. Kolchak tries to get in a few questions, but the men just toss him out on his ass. Kolchak does some digging around and finds out that the black numbers operators will be meeting with the syndicate to conduct a little business. And of course, Kolchak has to get himself in the middle of all of it. Okay, I don't know what kind of car this is, but I kinda want it. It sorta reminds me of the Joker's gang car from Batman 89. The Syndicate and Black Numbers try hashing out their differences, but considering the Syndicate's men keep winding up dead, I'm not sure how well that's gonna work out.
Jerry here was at that counting house when that guy walked in. He was a coconut.
Is coconut a racial term that I've just never heard before? Well, let's just say there's a bit of tension between these two groups, and I'm not exactly sure they were able to work things out. I feel like something like this could only happen to Kolchak. Kolchak attempts to save his skin by telling the men the one knocking them off is one Francois Edmonds, a number runner for the Black Numbers operators. Now the Syndicate don't exactly believe him considering Francois is supposed to be dead, but Kolchak assures them that if they check out his grave right now, they'll find that his body is missing. So they do exactly that, though they force Kolchak to do the digging. For all Kolchak knows, he could be digging his own grave right now.
Night work is against the bylaws of the Funerary Workers Association.
This poor guy just works here, and now he's stuck digging with Kolchak. They managed to open the coffin, and inside there's just a dead chicken. The best part of this is two of the Syndicate members just start arguing, and Kolchak just seems to enjoy all of it.
It's that guy.
Our friendly neighborhood zombie shows up, and I like how a light shove is all it takes to take out some of these men. The zombie kills one of them and then just saunters off. The police arrive and find Kolchak sitting with a dead mobster, so I guess that means Vincenzo has to be called down to bail him out? Alright, so why was Kolchak sitting alone with a dead mobster? What happened to the man that worked at the cemetery? Couldn't he have told the police what happened? Instead, Kolchak's boss gets called down to handle this? Why would they call his boss and not a family member? And why is Vincenzo still in his pajamas? Kolchak tries explaining that a dead man did all this, but Vincenzo and the captain don't exactly buy it. You'd think that Vincenzo might, considering everything that's happened so far, but he's basically the Scully in this universe, I guess.
It's voodoo. Francois Edmonds has been turned into a zombie.
Kolchak is let go, so he starts digging more into this Francois Edmonds, and finds he has a relative named Marie Juliette Edmonds. He speaks to the old woman who is Francois' grandmother, and he's like, "Listen, you old bag, I know your grandson is a zombie, so let's cut to the chase." Okay, maybe he was a bit more tactful than that, but that's roughly what he said. The old woman is of no help, but Kolchak does find a dead chicken in her garbage, which is awfully suspect, because why throw away a good meal?
Oh gosh, I want.
Perfectly normal behavior from an old woman who claims her grandson is not a voodoo zombie. Wait a minute, Kolchak? Police Captain Winwood? What could this all possibly mean? Well, what it means is Kolchak thinks the captain is somehow involved in Francois' murder, but Kolchak's name was also written in blood, so wouldn't that mean he's also somehow involved? I fail to see Kolchak's rationale on this. Kolchak believes his name was written in blood because he asks too many questions. But what if the police captain does as well? I don't think he should just assume he's somehow involved in the murder. I mean, come on, it's the 70s. What are the odds that a police officer would be involved in the murder of a black— oh.
I didn't give the order, Mr. Edmonds. I swear I don't remember anything about it. Dino, help me, please.
Kolchak arrives just in time to find the bodies of the Syndicate members who have all been taken out by our zombie friend. I think this means all that's left are the police captain and Kolchak now. Hilariously, Kolchak notices something odd about a bus, and when he hitches a ride on the back, the damn zombie is getting a ride home. How did the zombie pay? How did the driver not notice he's a zombie? And how is anyone not noticing that smell? Kolchak follows the zombie to a junkyard, and we have our Kolchak wandering around somewhere spooky segment of the show. Seriously, look at the zombie's face. You're telling me the bus driver had no issues allowing him to board? Kolchak now has to try and stop the zombie, which is a convoluted process of filling his mouth with salt, sewing it shut, and lighting some white candles. What happens when the candles go out though? Does it just wear off and allow the zombie to rise again? You know, this scene is actually kind of tense, but imagine being the poor actor that has to have his mouth filled with salt. Well, so much for the salt, I guess. Oh great, he's one of those fast-running zombies too. Kolchak manages to trick the zombie into hanging itself, which allows him to light the candles, which then go out on their own, and somehow that means the zombie is defeated? I don't exactly know how you defeat voodoo zombies, but it seems way more complicated than a bullet to the brain. Anyways, the zombie's defeated, the grandmother is deported, and the police captain was relieved of duty for health reasons. Yeah, health reasons my ass. The zombie is another fun ride in Kolchak the Night Stalker, and it actually manages to be genuinely creepy, especially the scene where Kolchak tries to sew the zombie's mouth shut. You just know something terrible is about to happen, but you're also silently rooting for him to get it done in time. And as always, the humor hits just right, like Kolchak insisting Monique isn't going to help him, cut to them in his car while she just won't shut the hell up. Or when he tries to escape two gangs by blaming his non-existent brother. Brilliant stuff, Kolchak.
No, that's a mistake. No, that's my brother, Marshall Kolchak. He's the one with the big mouth.
The zombie itself looks surprisingly good for a 1970s show. That decaying makeup is honestly better than some of the pretty zombies that you see on modern shows like The Walking Dead. And the guy underneath the makeup? Earl Tree Faison, former San Diego Chargers defensive lineman, and at 6'5" and over 260 pounds, he makes the spine snapping look effortless. Behind the scenes, things were a little messy. Executive producer Paul Playdon left after this episode, reportedly due to clashes with Darren McGavin, and was eventually replaced by Cy Chermak. The story itself was penned by Ezekiel Marco and future Sopranos creator David Chase, which makes sense because yes, Italian mobsters. Chase was the story editor on the show and remembered, Paul Playdon hired me. I always liked horror movies and I loved the Night Stalker, so I was very happy to get the job. Darren McGavin even called Chase the one continuing element through the entire show. Chase doesn't sugarcoat it either. The production was brutal. There were fights. It was a very expensive show to produce. Budget restraints, brutal hours. We were killing ourselves. The Mary Tyler Moore show was on at the time. I never saw it. We were too busy. But despite the chaos, Chase has fond memories. There was nothing else like it on the air. We knew we were making up this bizarre joke. I hope you can tell there were some people having fun. And somehow that chaos just adds to the charm of an episode where zombies, mobsters, and Kolchak collide in perfect 70s madness. I've mentioned a million times how Kolchak inspired the X-Files, but this episode really has a few standouts. First off, the mobsters are called the Syndicate. Now sure, it's a fairly common term, but come on. The main shadowy group Mulder spends the majority of the show dealing with are also called the Syndicate. Coincidence? Probably, but also probably not. The episode itself also feels like it could have directly inspired the X-Files episode Fresh Bones, which is all about voodoo mysticism and zombies rising from their graves. I'm not saying the X-Files blatantly ripped this off, but the similarities are a little hard to ignore. Up next, we have a rather interesting episode, as Kolchak has to deal with an invisible entity that seems to be extracting the bone marrow of its victims. And they have been, they are, they will be. But what do you think of the zombie? Let me know down below. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope I see you in the next one, and stay spooky!